Welcome to Asia Science Institute. This is our website asia.com. We upload current affairs here. So monthly current affairs as well as daily current affairs are uploaded. So for the month of August 2016, you can download the full PDF file of news here. So here we have had first two discussions on August. So this is part 3 of the August file. So this we start with economy. So the first news here is NSCL settlement scandal is back in spotlight. So NSCL, National Spot Exchange Limited, this was, actually it is now defunct. So the founder of FTIL, Jignesh Shah, was the one who owned 99.99% in this now defunct NSCL. So there was this 5,600 crore settlement scam which was going on here, which came to light in July 2013. So later even NSCL actually was trading in only few commodities, and that too as paired commodities. So the contracts of commodities which were made, they were making money based on the differences in buying and selling prices here. So the NSCL was controlled by them. So this whole scam came to the light, and all the bodies here, Enforcement Directorate had arrested Jignesh Shah. Earlier he was arrested by Economic Offences Wing of Mumbai Police also. FMC, Forward Market Commission. Now it is merged with SEBI, and also SEBI. They have all done their separate probes on this case. So this is what came up, that they were having this scam going on here. Even FTIL provided a bridge loan, because FTIL is cash rich, and NSCL, in which it owns 99.99%, is now bankrupt. So now the investors actually are demanding that the merger should take place of this NSCL with FTIL, because FTIL is cash rich, but Jignesh Shah, he is challenging this forced merger order. So let's see, now the case is there before the Company Law Board in New Delhi. Next is Center affirms 4% inflation goal. So now this news, so we have discussed quite often. This is August news. So Monetary Policy Committee, we know that the target is inflation targeting. The goal is to keep inflation at 4% with a band of plus minus 2%. So means upper limit 6 and lower limit 2%. So this will come, the present target will be in effect till 2021. So this 4% target will remain till this year and financial year ending, that is March 31, 2021. Then it says if retail inflation remains outside this 2 to 6% range for 3 consecutive quarters, then this would constitute a failure to achieve the inflation target. So this has been decided for Monetary Policy Committee, because if they don't achieve this one purpose, then there will be action. So the report to the central government should be given by MPC stating the reasons for the failure, and remedial actions should be proposed, and time period within which this should be achieved will also be mentioned. So this, the onus lies on MPC now. This provision is there. So 3 consecutive quarters it should not go outside. So inflation, it says, is outcome of global factors, fiscal factors and monetary factors too. So of course everything cannot be controlled, but consumer price inflation combined, we have discussed this also, is the one which will be used for this inflation targeting too. So consumer price inflation was 5.8%, so very near the upper limit of the band set by the government in June 2016. So 6% is the upper limit band. Then next is Ministry wants SEZ's tax swaps to continue. So this is a question, a concern of the SEZ operators now. So the question is that after the implementation of GST, Goods and Services Tax, how would the tax concessions be for SEZs? Because they are given tax and duty exemptions. So Commerce Ministry actually wants these exemptions to continue to apply for SEZs. So they want clarity on this matter, and this concern has been raised to the Finance Minister too. So there are incentives offered to SEZs like duty-free imports, duty-free domestic procurement of goods. So now all taxes are merged into Goods and Services Tax. So that's why the clarity is required. As of June 2016, there were 329 notified SEZs, of which 204 are operational in India. Then retail inflation accelerated to 6.07% in July 2016. So this was due to higher food prices. So this was there. The next is IRDAI, Insurance Regulatory Development and Authority of India. It moots guidelines on listing of insurers. So this we have discussed means in the later months too, because US had also raised this concern in its report on India. So this IRDAI is now considering a proposal that it would make it mandatory for general as well as life insurance companies to list their shares on completion of 8 and 10 years of operations respectively. For general, 8 years, life insurance 10 years. So these companies should be listed. So such companies should get listed within 3 years of the direction being issued. So this is a suggestion coming forth, a proposal. So there are 55 public and private sector insurance firms in India. So the purpose is that their corporate governance would be strengthened, market discipline would come, transparency would increase. But USA report was saying that why this is being done, this is the company's own purpose. When it feels that there is a need and they should go for listing, they would go for listing their shares as such. So this is the point. Then next is food lifts WPI inflation to 23-month high. So because of food price inflation, WPI has also increased to 3.6% in July 2016. So this is the news again. So base effect, this is a term which is used. So base effect means because the base is exceedingly low. So the comparison which is done with the previous year, if the base is exceedingly low, then the change shown is drastic, and if the base is exceedingly high, then the change shown is minimal, though there may be change. So these things are also there. That is called the base effect. Then next is panel suggests corporate bond index, easier norms for FPI, so foreign portfolio investment. So this is a working group on development of corporate bond market in India. So this expert panel comprises of nominees from RBI, Finance Ministry, SEBI, IRDAI, and PFRDA. So it was constituted in September 2015 and it has given its recommendations. So one specific recommendation is that the easing of norms for foreign investors should be there. So a corporate bond index should be set up on the lines of Sensex and Nifty and make it mandatory for large corporates to tap this market for funds beyond the threshold. So this is the idea, corporate bond index. The next is Appointments Committee of the Cabinet. It has announced the appointment of RBI Deputy Governor Urjit Patel as successor to Raghuram Rajan. So this we already know. The Financial Sector Regulatory Appointments Search Committee headed by Cabinet Secretary made a short list for consideration for this Appointments Committee of the Cabinet, and finally the name was decided. So Appointment Committee comprises of Prime Minister and Home Minister too. So Finance Minister is not a member here. So this is a point specifically mentioned for appointment of RBI Governor. So then another point is Central Bank abandoned its focus on the WPI for its inflation management and adopted in its place CPI. We already know this, CPI combined has been adopted. Then next is Internet access, a hurdle to rural banking. So this is the country's youngest bank, Bandhan Bank Limited. So it completed a year of operation and it has presence in 50,000 villages through its 701 branches. So poor internet connectivity in rural and semi-urban areas, it says, is one of the biggest hurdles in extending banking services. And Bandhan Bank, this was the first microfinancing institution to get universal banking license. It became a complete license, complete bank, universal bank, like any other bank. So we have other types of banks too, for which licenses have been given presently, but this is a universal bank, Bandhan Bank. So it is also the first bank to be headquartered in Kolkata since independence. So this is about that. It completed 1 year. Then next is, so other banks are like payment banks, etc., which are for specific functions. Then this is banks to issue masala bonds. RBI opens currency market. So RBI has allowed commercial banks to issue rupee bonds in overseas markets. So these rupee denominated banks, we have discussed this also quite often, are called masala bonds. So for the capital requirement, financial infrastructure, etc., this can be issued. So RBI has allowed this. So this was the recommendation of Khan Committee that corporate bond market should be strengthened. So this is the case. RBI has also said that it will seek suitable legal amendments to enable it to accept corporate bonds under liquidity adjustment facility. So liquidity adjustment facility is there under RBI. So this is operated through repo and reverse repo rate. So under repo rate, that decides how the banks have to pay interest when they borrow money from RBI, and reverse repo rate is actually the RBI borrowing money from the banks. So this is how the liquidity in the economy is maintained. So this is that. Then one more point which was made here is entities exposed to exchange rate risks. As such, RBI has allowed entities exposed to exchange rate risks, both residential and non-residential, to undertake hedge transactions with simplified procedures up to a limit of $30 million. So this is exchange rate risk is not there. So this is the burden of the investor in case of masala bonds. That's what rupee denominated bonds are all about. Then next is how dark matter influences inflation. So factors that affect inflation. So oil prices, when global oil prices went low, inflation is affected. Monsoon, good or bad, food prices depend on that, inflation gets affected by it. Government spending, that also decides inflation. When government spending is more, then there's more money in the economy, liquidity. So that is the global demand, how is it, interest rates as such. So this decide inflation. But then there's another thing, dark matter, which also decides inflation, and this dark matter is expectations about the future. So if future is optimistic, if there are optimistic expectations, then inflation will be there, otherwise deflation would be there. So this is called the dark matter in inflation. Then next is cleaning up of bank balance sheets. So this is again, RBI has been talking about this quite often, that banks are not passing on the rate cuts to the borrowers. So RBI reduces the lending rates for them, but banks are not passing this off to their borrowers. So these banks have been told to rely on their marginal instead of average cost of funds to set their lending rate. So lending rates should be decided based on marginal cost of funds, not average cost of funds. Then on-tap bank licenses not for big corporates. So this was what had come forth, that now on-tap means it will continue. It will not be at one particular time that bank licenses would be issued, but they will continuously be issued based on those who fulfill the criteria and who are selected. So large industrial houses whose income from non-banking sources is over 40% of the total will not be eligible to set up a universal bank in the country. So this is the RBI's decision. So they are allowed to pick up 10% stakes in the bank as such. That is it. NBFCs that are controlled by residents and have successful track record for at least 10 years are eligible. And non-banking financial companies are eligible. Minimum capital requirement is there of 500 crore. They should list on stock exchange within 6 years of commencement of operations. They should open at least 25% of their branches in unbanked rural centers. So such norms are also there for them. Capital adequacy ratio is of 13% has to be maintained in first 3 years of operation. So generally it's 9%. For these new universal banks, it is 13%. So this is there. Then promoter should have a minimum of 40% stake in the bank and a lock-in period of 5 years. Then after that, stake can be brought down to 15% within 15 years. So these are the major provisions which are there, on the basis of which licenses would be provided and how they should function. Then in GST, this I think we have discussed a lot on GST, so this is okay. The GST is to create a common market in the country, remove supply chain distortions arising from different tax rates in different states. So there will be one single tax rate now. So for the implementation of GST, a constitutional amendment bill was also introduced. This has been passed now, of course. This is August news. So 122nd constitutional amendment bill was introduced. So this, because taxation powers are also under the constitution. So constitutional amendment was also necessary. And the same statement, GST with the benefits, it will transform India into a unitary market. Lower transaction and logistics costs would be there. It would spread the tax net wider. Tax compliance would increase. We have discussed this quite often now. It will propel investments and growth as well. So simplifying the taxation regime too. And taxation rate that would protect the revenues of the center and state. That is called revenue neutral rate. So this revenue neutral rate, on this also suggestions were put forth, that what would be the rate of GST. So now we know there are 4 slabs plus 0 rated goods under GST, but at that time it was spoken of that what should be the revenue neutral rate. Means revenue remains the same. It would not be affected, both of center and state. So this, a standard rate of 18% was suggested also. The tax revenues of center and state would not be adversely impacted at this rate. But finally we know that 4 slabs have been decided. Then next is infrastructure. So 8 core sectors. This we have discussed quite often now. I think you should be knowing about this by now under IIP. So these are the 8 core sectors. Electricity has maximum weightage. So this is that. Then ports to promote waterways as center plans policy region. So the center is framing a policy to enable all major ports to set up subsidiary companies to develop inland waterways. So this is a plan of the center to cut logistics costs for exporters so that they can move their cargo on water instead of over land. So once they come to the ports, so easy foreign funding will be also be facilitated for this. The biggest container port in India is JNPT, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust. Then next is center sanctions 200 crore for 7 smart village clusters. So these smart village clusters would be established under the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Rurban Mission. So this is for rural transport and water supply. So this Rurban Mission is to create jobs and reduce migration in the rural areas. So earlier we had this Pura scheme. So now under the present government we have this Rurban mission, rural urban mission. So Rurban, the term is used. Syama Prasad Mukherjee mission. So this Pura was the idea of APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of India. So Pura was providing urban amenities in rural areas. So this is the case. Then in railways, the one point made is lack of trains to blame for track deaths. So in this, one term used is crush load. So crush load refers to the passenger density of twice the seating capacity of a rig as per the Indian Railways. So how much is the crush load of a particular railway as such? This is decided based on this. So passenger density of twice the seating capacity. Then next is other stations don't justify billing, CAG. So CAG has found defects in this Adarsh railway station schemes, passenger facilities. So it says 80% of the Adarsh railway stations as such, they are having defects. So in the railway budget 2009-10, government had announced these Adarsh stations in the railway budget. So this was to improve ticketing, circulating area on the stations, signage, signs as such, easy access and exit from this. So even pay and use toilets, high level platforms, etc. were proposed under this other scheme. But now the CAG has flagged security concerns as there were no X-rays also at 71 railway stations, and many were non-functional. So this is there. Then for physically challenged passengers also the facilities were not provided. Cleanliness was a concern. So this has been highlighted by CAG report. Then next is Savai Madhopur's artistic railway station bags National Tourism Award. So this is the Savai Madhopur railway station in eastern Rajasthan. So this is known for Ranthambore National Park. So it has won the National Award for Tourism, Best Tourist Friendly Railway Station. So it's India's first heritage railway station as such too, Savai Madhopur. Then next is science and technology. In this, the first news is IISc researchers produce a better water purification membrane. So a team of researchers from IISc Bangalore have improved upon the water purification membrane that they had developed in 2014. So it now kills nearly 99% of E. coli bacteria in the water. So this has been done. They have improvised their own water purifier. So this they have done by mixing equal amounts of two polymers. So polythene and polyethylene oxide. So polyethylene oxide is actually soluble in water. Polyethylene is of course not. So anchoring graphene oxide on the surface of the membrane. So graphene oxide has actually very sharp edges. We know about graphene also, we have discussed, so I suppose you should know that by now. So this helps in piercing and destroying the bacteria cell walls. And the E. coli bacteria is destroyed and they make the water pure. Next is 3 strains of fungi to help recycle rechargeable batteries. So there are these fungi which can be used to recycle used rechargeable lithium-ion batteries. So cobalt and lithium can be extracted from them. So this is fungi which naturally generate organic acids, and these acids leach out the metals. So this is the development here. So at least you should know that it's a fungi. You don't need to remember these names. These are the 3 strains of fungi. So they have been found. Then next is giant hybrid airship takes off for first time. So this is a blimp-shaped helium-filled airship. So here the name is important. You should know this name, Airlander 10. So this is considered the world's largest aircraft. So this is a helium-filled airship. It has flown for the first time now. So it's a hybrid, means it's a blimp, a helicopter, and an aeroplane too. It has been named as Flying Bum because it's balloon-shaped front end which is there. So it is designed to use less fuel than a plane and can carry heavier loads than a conventional airship. So this was initially developed by US military but was scrapped in 2013. So now it has been revived, Airlander 10. So for the military it has not been used, but now it has been used for this purpose, for carrying loads. The next is IceCube finds no sterile neutrinos. So this IceCube, I think this has already been asked by UPSC earlier. So the neutrino physicist says IceCube neutrino detector, which is there in Antarctica, drew a blank in search for sterile neutrinos. So these are, these are being found. So the standard model of physics talks of neutrinos. So there are only 3 varieties of neutrinos known. So IceCube array of detectors at this Antarctica South Pole, they were looking for sterile neutrinos. So they are so called because they do not interact with matter at all except for gravity. So they interact only with gravity. So these were tried to be detected, but they did not succeed. So this is about IceCube. So it consists of 5,160 light sensitive detectors frozen in pristine ice, stretching up to a cubic kilometer in Antarctica. So location helps in detection of neutrinos incident on the Earth from the northern hemisphere. So the three types of neutrinos are electron neutrinos, tau neutrinos, and muon neutrinos. So these are the known ones. Then next is Large Hadron Collider results negate existence of new particles on higher energies. Is regarding the CERN's Large Hadron Collider. So they have reported that they might have seen traces of what could be new fundamental constituents of nature. So an elementary particle that is not part of standard model, they claim, have been detected. So what are they finding out is why there is matter but not antimatter in the universe. So these questions need answers. So they are looking into it. Higgs boson. Higgs is one of the heaviest elementary particles known. So this was also discovered as such. So this Higgs boson explains why other particles have mass. So these questions on standard models of particle physics have come often. So standard model, there is a complete video. You must be knowing about that too by now. So you can know about all these standard elements also through that video. So there is a set of elementary particles known as WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles, one of which could comprise the dark matter also. So they are trying to observe and detect them. So this is the Large Hadron Collider. It was built at a cost of $10 billion. So these protons, which move at the speed of light, more than 99% of the speed of light actually, they are made to move around 18-mile underground track, and they smash together. So when they smash together, combined energy of 14 trillion electron volts is generated. So this, what are the constituents formed? That is to be studied. So this, that searching any new particle or forces of nature which are there. So the standard model of particle physics is what our knowledge is presently about. So any new particle which is there can be detected. So that's the idea. The Higgs boson particle was actually found too. So this Higgs, which gives mass to particles also. So how this is happening also has been understood by Higgs boson particle. So this is regarding that. Then robotics, Octobot. So this is a latest revolutionary robo form. This is a squishy, wireless, batteryless, cheap robo. So it can get through tracks, cracks, and tight places. So it's an ideal rescue robo. It does not have a battery. It is powered by chemical reaction in fluids. So fluid movement moves the arms and directs the robo actions as such. So this, it can be printed also. 3D printing can be done. The most costly part which it has is a small bit of platinum. So this is Octobot. Then next in space, the first news is NASA to explore asteroid Bennu during its close encounter to Earth. So this also we have discussed earlier too. So this is Bennu. So this is going to, it may actually have a close encounter with Earth. So it's a near Earth size asteroid. So it's coming towards our planet. So this has been dislodged by a gravitational pull, and it may strike us and cause massive destruction too. So this is Bennu. So people living in 2135 would know whether the asteroid is actual threat or not. So presently it is expected, means there's speculation. So there is this NASA mission, OSIRIS-REx mission. So this is headed by NASA and University of Arizona. So they plan to launch an unmanned spacecraft in September to reach Bennu in August 2018. So this has been initiated. Even OSIRIS-REx mission has been in news later. We have spoken about this too. So you should know about Bennu and OSIRIS-REx mission, what it is about. Then next is ISRO sets the ball rolling on Mars mission 2. So we are having second MOM-2 also, Mars Orbiter mission. We are having Chandrayaan-2 also being developed, and now MOM-2 also. So Mars Orbiter mission is famous for being the first mission by any country to reach Mars in the very first attempt. So no country has ever reached Mars in its first attempt. So India is the one. Russia, US and Europe, they all failed in their first attempt. So this is about Mars Orbiter mission, the Mangalyaan as it is called. So this is, it was launched in 2013 by ISRO. So ISRO became the fourth space agency after NASA, European Space Agency, and of course Soviet, to reach Mars now. Then next is flooded canyons found on Saturn's moon Titan, NASA. So this also, Cassini also we have discussed quite often. So you should be knowing about this too, that steep-sided canyons, hundreds of meters deep, have been found on Saturn's moon Titan. So they are flooded with liquid hydrocarbons. So this is the first evidence of presence of liquid-filled channels on Titan. So Earth is a warm and rocky with rivers of water. Titan is cold and icy with rivers of methane. So this is the comparison done. So this is also Titan is the largest moon of Saturn. The next is China to launch first quantum hack-proof satellite. So this is a quantum communication satellite, the first in the world. It will be launched by China. So it is hack-proof. So it has ultra-high security features to prevent wiretapping and intercepts also. So this is taking forward quantum computing. Quantum computing also we have discussed earlier. You can look at it. So what is quantum dynamics? There can be like general computing is having bits 0 and 1, but quantum computing they can take, because quantum states are there in matter. So they can take multiple states at the same time. So then multiple, much quicker computing can take place using this quantum mechanics. Then next is NASA's new space mission aims at unveiling origin of life. So this is about OSIRIS-REx mission only. So it stands for, the term also stands for, this we did just for Bennu. So this stands for origins, spectral interpretation, resource identification, security regolith explorer. You don't need to remember the full form also. So this will travel to Bennu. It will collect space dust that may reveal how the materials necessary for life, such as carbon and ice, made their way on our planet Earth. So this is the mission. So US is first robotic mission aimed at scooping 4.5 billion year old dust from an asteroid. So this is its objective. It says the idea is not to land on the asteroid, it will just do a hi-fi, means go very close to it, the way people do hi-fi. So it will be there for several seconds to gather some debris, and then it can be studied when it comes closely back on Earth. So that is the objective. The only problem it says is that in zero gravity, such a device could just scatter dust instead of collecting it. So this is the problem. So what idea has been used is the solo cup idea. So this is the reverse vacuum concept. So use of an air compressor is done to blow air through a cup's base. So the dirt is spewed out through the holes and it's collected in an external container. So this solo cup idea was put forth, and this is called MUCAV. So reverse of vacuum as such. So this is the acronym also, touch and go sample acquisition mechanism. So this is its name, TACSAM, which will be used for this hi-fi to collect this dust. So reverse vacuum concept will be used. The next is NASA to send submarine to Saturn's moon Titan. So this is the only one of the bodies outside the Earth with liquid lakes and seas on its surface. So Titan has these. So NASA has unveiled plans to send a submarine into the depths of this largest ocean. Its largest ocean is Kraken Mare. So now recently also we have discussed about other moons, another moon of Titan which has water below its surface. So that is there. Even Jupiter's moon has water below, but this has the only only one of the bodies outside Earth in the outer solar system with liquid lakes on its surface. So that is important, and largest of this is Kraken Mare, and NASA wants to send a submarine here. So this is what it is going to do. NASA wants to go to Titan to determine if hydrocarbon based life is possible on Titan or not. So this is there. Another point is that with clouds and an atmosphere, Titan is very similar to Earth too. So except that it is of course extremely cold, and the oceans are made of not water but liquid methane. So the measurement of chemical composition of the ocean here in Titan, the currents, tides, structure of the ocean floor, all this would be studied by this submarine. It would be launched in 2038. So that is the year decided also, because the alignment of Earth, Saturn and Titans as such with Titan season would be such that it would be facilitated. The next is ISRO flight test scramjet engine joins elite club. So India has become the 4th nation to flight test a scramjet engine. So scramjet means what? Air breathing propulsion system. So it takes in air. So that significantly reduces the amount of fuel it needs to fire up engine on a rocket. So it works on the air breathing philosophy. That means the oxidizer which is required that to be carried along with the fuel is reduced. So that brings down the launch cost also. So hydrogen is used as a fuel, and oxygen from the atmospheric air is sucked in as the oxidizer. So these are scramjet engines. So India has also now successfully flight tested. So it has become the 4th nation now with this technology. Of course, USA has it. So and even Russia has it. So Advanced Technology Vehicle, ATV. So this is a 2-stage sounding rocket for the test at supersonic conditions. This was used for testing the scramjet engine. The next is monotony was hardest part of Mars isolation experiment. So this is HI-SEAS. So this is Hawaii Space Exploration Analog and Stimulation. So this is also NASA mission. So people were selected and put in isolation for 365 days a year to assist NASA in planning a mission to Mars. So people there would be living as such. So how is life as such is to be stimulated. So the simulated. So the simulation was actually done here. So this was based on the barren northern slopes of Mauna Loa volcano on Hawaii Island. So here the volcanic soil of Mauna Loa is very similar to mineral composition on Martian soil too. So these experiments were done about extracting water from ground as such too. So you can see Mauna Loa is one of the 5 volcanoes that form the island of Hawaii, which is part of USA. So it's considered the largest volcano on Earth. It's an active shield volcano with relatively gentle slopes. It's a shield volcano, so gentle slopes are there. It's silica poor, so it's non-explosive. Mauna Loa. Then next is Kudankulam second reactor synchronized to southern grid. So the second reactor at Kudankulam nuclear power project in Tamil Nadu has also attained criticality and it has successfully synchronized to the southern power grid now. So they are VVR reactors and they have been constructed with Russian technical assistance. Voda Energo reactor. So it started off in 2002, but it took 11 years for NPCIL to reach criticality. With the first reactor too, because there were problems like delays in supply of components from Russia too, and the protests which were going on against nuclear reactors. So it's in Tamil Nadu. Fishermen were objecting. Unit 1 was synchronized in 2013, and this is the news about Unit 2 being synchronized with the power grid. So these are pressurized heavy water reactors, VVR, so 1000 megawatt. So they are water cooled, water moderated power reactors. This statement we have repeated quite often. This you should remember. NPCIL, these Kudankulam nuclear plants are water cooled, water moderator. So coolant used is water and moderator used is also water. Then Kudankulam plant safest in the world, says Russian official. So this is the first in the world to have post-Fukushima safety enhancement requirements implemented and operated successfully. That is Russia's claim, which has provided for these reactors. So Rosatom State Nuclear Corporation is scheduled to construct 6 units of PVER 1000 light water reactors at Kudankulam further now. So the double localizing and protective containment, these are the safeguards which are there post Fukushima nuclear disaster. These are the safeguards. So whatever, as much as you can remember, double localizing and protective containment, passive heat removal system, because heat removal is a major concern here in nuclear reactors. So passive heat removal system from reactor plant automatically, core catcher, closed industrial water intake. So these are the safety measures. It says it can even withstand a fall of an aircraft. So one concern is there that large amount of seawater is drawn in to cool the reactors. So measures need to be taken to preserve the biodiversity of Mannar Bay, which is adjacent to the Kudankulam region. So this is one point. So they say they have a system which ensures that fish and plankton which are coming with the water, they are returned to the sea. Then in IT, the news is NPCI tightens security as criminals target ATMs e-banking. So NPCI is National Payments Corporation of India. So this is an umbrella organization for all retail payments in India. So it says 60% of debit credit cards issued in India still use the old magnetic strip technology. So this is vulnerable to frauds like skimming. So what is required now is the secure chip-based EVMs, which are used Europay, MasterCard, Visa format, which is there. This should be used. So this is the case. So according to RBI directive, to all old magnetic strip cards issued by banks will have to migrate to EMV by December 2018. So this is about the case here. Then next is anti-leprosy drug can enhance BCG vaccine efficacy study. So these Indian researchers have been able to bring about more than 50-fold improvement in efficacy of this commonly used TB vaccine, BCG, Bacillus calmette-guerin. So the experiment was done on mice. So the anti-leprosy drug which is there, clofazimine. So if this is also given along with this dose, then the efficacy increase multifold. Then next is antimicrobial resistance, clear and present danger. So this also we have discussed quite often. In 2008, even NDML1, New Delhi metallo beta lactamase 1, an enzyme that was named after New Delhi. So this also happened. So this was an enzyme that tendered bacteria resistant to broad spectrum of antibiotics. So a strain of this had crossed from India and spread resistance in UK as well, and internationally it was the name given as such. So in antibiotic resistance, India has a lot to do. So the key factors responsible are widespread use and availability of practically all the antimicrobials across the counter. So over the counter you can get these medicines. Increasing and wanton use of antibiotics in livestock production also. Inappropriate doses, irrational use in hospitals also take place, even doctors advise. So now even revised schedule as drugs are being suggested to make over-the-counter availability of certain antibiotics nearly impossible. So this is how we are dealing with fight against antibiotic resistance. So schedule H drugs means those that need to be sold by retail on the prescription of a registered medical practitioner only. So this is schedule H drug, means if you have the doctor's prescription, then only it will be sold. The next is in genetics, first human genetic editing trial in China. So Chinese scientists will perform this world's first genetic editing trial on humans. So this is an attempt to find cure for lung cancer. So the genetic editing technique CRISPR-Cas9 will be used. This also we have discussed, I suppose we have discussed in detail. So CRISPR stands for cluster regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. Again, you don't need to remember this name, but this is a huge breakthrough. So this is easy. Genetic editing means like cutting and pasting. A part of gene can be cut and pasted. It can be done using this technique. So Cas9 is actually the enzyme that is used to edit the DNA. So CRISPR is a collection of DNA sequences that direct Cas9 where to cut and paste. So this is CRISPR-Cas9 technique of genetic editing. Then next is center funding 16 yoga research projects. So Department of S&T has funded a wide range of research institutions, including Patanjali of Baba Ramdev, to study the efficacy of yoga and whether it has role in alleviating diseases like stroke, type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's, schizophrenia. So this Satyam, which is an acronym for Science and Technology for Yoga and Medicine, this has been conceived to develop yoga scientifically. Not just a religious belief, but as a scientific technology. So this is Satyam. Then the remaining part we'll do in the next video.